Alright guys, I have a bit of a confession to make. So, I didn't record a lot of my footage of me trying to 100% Pikmin 4 with no Pikmin, as I didn't expect the video talking about doing that up until the rescue of Olimar to do so well, to the point where it got over 100k views in the first week. That's like over 10,000 Flarlicks worth of views. That's a lot of people watching. And of course, the astronomical amount of views have also resulted in a lot of comments, many of which are questioning and asking about what this run is like if you tried to go for 100%. So I figured to celebrate the success of that video, and to leave no stone left unturned, I'll talk about my experience 100%ing this game without growing any Pikmin, and answer some of the questions you guys had from the last video. I hope it goes without saying that there will be spoilers for my previous video, as well as the entirety of Pikmin 4, so I highly recommend beating Pikmin 4 and watching my previous video first, as I'm not going to spend 10 minutes explaining everything again. Anyways, I'm kind of glad I ended the first video after rescuing Olimar instead of attempting to play through the whole game with the challenge of growing no Pikmin, because the integrity of this run kind of gets a little wishy-washy once you try going for 100%, as there are treasures that are just straight up impossible to get without Pikmin. The most prominent of which are any of the treasures that weigh over 100 Pikmin, meaning that you will need purples to transport it. You also need to discover purples if you want to beat the final boss, as the 16th sublevel of the final cave requires you to kill 2 water wraiths to progress, and as you guys know, it's literally impossible to kill that guy without purples. So I was wrong in my previous video when I said that you can beat the entire game with only reds discovered, as you can't beat the final boss unless you also discover purples. But seeing reds and purples as the only discovered type does feel like a nice throwback to the beginning of Pikmin 2. After beating the final boss with glow Pikmin, because I'm not going to do that with no Pikmin, technically I could if I had these many bombs, but it would take days to collect enough raw material to get that many, even with the free ones that you get from using the pebble pitcher, which you might think you can use on the boss like every other enemy, but his fur acts like a shield against any damage that isn't bombs, just like the back of an Emperor Ballblax or the outside of an armored cannon beetle. Also, this is unrelated to the run, but as much as I love Pikmin 4 and I think it does almost everything better than the previous Pikmin games, it does have my least favorite final boss. Like, killing this boss even under normal circumstances is really annoying, really time consuming, and there's just no way to do it quickly. I know it took a while to do the Plasm Wraith and the Titan Dweevil as well, but at least with the Dweevil there was always an opportunity to attack it, even though attacking it at certain times were more dangerous than others, at least you could, and the Plasm Wraith is just the best boss in Pikmin, let's be real. The whole Formidable Oak section is amazing, and definitely the best part of Pikmin 3 outside of the side modes. So after defeating the final boss, I decided to be a lot more loose with my rule set. No, Ochi, that doesn't give you permission to greet him like that! Oh my god! I was talking about the rule set I set for myself to utilize the least amount of Pikmin possible, as everything left to do in the run pretty much required Pikmin, and it was just satisfying and a lot of fun to collect the stuff that I couldn't on my initial playthrough because I was limiting myself so much, and doing cleanup duty actually had a little bit more significant progression involved in it, as I had a new goal to look forward to, which is obtaining the extra hand. This is an item that you can only get after defeating the final boss and rescuing Louie, as he starts a series of side quests that require you to go into one cave in each of the areas in order to collect some enemy corpses for him to eat. So by collecting 4 dwarf bulborbs in Hectic Hollows, 2 Wallyhops in Secluded Courtyard, 1 Peckish Aristocrab in Seafloor Resort, a Fiery Ballblax in Cradle of the Beast, a Sovereign Ballblax in the final cave, and oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Anything but that, Louie. Ochi, run! He's trying to get revenge! After all of that, Louie gives you the extra hand item, which allows your captain to carry things just like a Pikmin would, which makes collecting raw material and nuggets at least 4 times less tedious. Because with Rush Boots and the extra hand, captains carry back materials at the same pace as a flowered up white Pikmin, which ends up being much faster than Ochi, even with Rush Boots and Ultra Spicy Spray. Alright guys, let's have a fair race here. Loser gets to spend the night with Louie. The stakes are high, now let's see who can win this. 3, 2, 1, go! Ochi, really? You were that slow? Oh my god, you're adopted, dude. Anyways, having extra hand to collect materials as the captain, as well as having Ochi slowly collect some, this just eliminates majority of the tedium with collecting raw materials, which was by far the biggest problem of this run. Unfortunately, the extra hand isn't really useful for anything else. You can help out with carrying things, but Ochi pretty much has that covered at all times, and the extra hand doesn't allow you to do other things Pikmin can do, like digging in dirt mounds and building structures. But regardless if you're doing this run, I highly recommend going straight for the extra hand after defeating the final boss, because it helps out a lot, but also it's just fun to see the captain carry things. I don't know, it's just silly and it feels like everybody's contributing instead of just being a dick and watching the Pikmin do stuff without you helping out at all. So besides having Pikmin discovery cutscenes in really funny places, the majority of this run didn't really contain anything that I didn't explain in my last video, except for the fact that after you fuse 4 onions, reducing your Pikmin count to 0 every day with candy pop buds becomes mandatory, as only 3 different types of Pikmin can be out in the field at a time, meaning that the onion can only eject 3 different types in order to prevent Pikmin extinction, leaving the extra Pikmin that is spawned to prevent Pikmin extinction for the other types to be automatically lodged into the onion, meaning that in order to remove them from your party, you will have to despawn them. And since my main requirement for this run is to end every day with 0 total Pikmin gained or lost, there's a bit of extra urgency added to the post game, as you will need to make sure you go into a cave with a candy pop bud at least once or twice before the end of every day, depending on how many onions you have. And this extra pressure increases tenfold, turning one of the Pikmin days into a borderline speedrun when you need to collect the golden vaulting table in Primordial Thicket. This is an item that weighs 1,000 and requires 100 purple Pikmin to carry. And since my most major indicator of this run being legitimate is that I still have the call/return Pikmin prompt under the onion from never opening the menu, this means that in order to get this treasure, I am going to have to pluck the 3 Pikmin that are made to prevent Pikmin extinction, as well as collect an additional 97 wild Pikmin, convert them into purples, carry back the treasure, and then despawn those purples all in one Pikmin day. And I failed at doing this. It didn't really occur to me how time consuming this process would be, so I ended up starting the process midway through a previous day in Primordial Thicket, and needless to say I wasn't able to get it done before sunset, so technically I failed, but I still think it might be possible to get this done within one Pikmin day. By going through sublevel 1 and 2 of the Mud Pit, you can consistently get 15 wild winged Pikmin, and then once you obtain them, you can repeatedly go to the 12th sublevel of the final cavern in order to convert them into purple Pikmin by using the 2 purple candy pop buds there and repeating that 10 times. You can also save time on gathering extra wild Pikmin, depending on how many glow seeds you have added up, in order to use them instead of the winged Pikmin to make purples instead. You can then collect the treasure and then quickly go back to the final cave, this time going to sublevel 19 where there's 5 candy pop buds, meaning that you'll only need to take 4 trips to the sublevel in order to despawn all your Pikmin. I have no idea if it's possible to do all of this in one Pikmin day, as it's impossible for me to reattempt it without playing through the entire game again, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. So if any of you guys happen to be at that point in the game and want to try out this Primordial Thicket challenge, all you have to do is land in the area, collect only wild Pikmin, don't grow any yourself or bring Pikmin out of the onion, convert them into purples, carry back the treasure, and then despawn the purples, and see if you can do it before the day runs out. I would love to see if it's possible. But even if it isn't, and you can't really 100% Pikmin 4 with having 0 Pikmin gained and lost at the end of every day, I still think doing this run is a lot of fun, and is worth playing for yourself. Although I would probably recommend bending the rules and changing the way you go about things in order to make it more fun. Maybe just avoid collecting Farlick and stick to 20 red Pikmin instead, in order to collect the materials faster and do everything more efficiently, while still having to rely on the tactical drone and playing the game in the same way that I did in the last video. It also gives you a chance, if you're good at Pikmin, to play the game at a slower pace and kind of experience it in a way that might be more similar to the experience that people who are playing Pikmin for the first time through Pikmin 4 are experiencing, as everything moves at a much slower pace, allowing you to really appreciate the game and take in all the scenery while still playing as fast as possible under the restrictions you've given yourself, so it isn't boring or you're not playing bad on purpose, but you still can get that more slow-paced experience that a first-time player would experience. And for those of you wondering, no, you can't really do this run in Olimar's Shipwreck Tale, not just because Ochi has to learn Swallow in order to access the mode, preventing you from speeding up treasure collection with the Pebble Pitcher, but in the mode itself it's impossible to have just 0 Pikmin total, as they start you out with 10 red Pikmin lodged in the onion onion that are impossible to remove from your squad as there's no candy pop buds in this mode. But if you want to, you can play through Olimar's Shipwreck Tale without growing any additional Pikmin beyond the 10 reds they give you. It doesn't feel the same as playing through the main game with no Pikmin because you have Pikmin, but with the 15-day time limit to get all the ship parts, and having to use a lot of those days to wait for Moss to get buffed enough in order to carry back some of the ship parts that require more than 10 Pikmin, it adds a nice level of difficulty to the mode that might be fun to play around with. If Moss would freaking wake up already, dude, I'm giving you so many bones, please, just stop being lazy for 1 second! I'm a cat person now, but for the time being, I think I'm done playing Pikmin 4 in unorthodox ways, as my last 20 to 40 hours with the game was played primarily without Pikmin and just using the Pebble Pitcher, which is fun, but I wish I could swap between that and playing the game normally more often, without having all the items I accumulate in co-op mode despawning whenever I exit out of the file. That is by far the worst part about playing this, as it pretty much forces you to play this run to completion, all in one go, or what the game thinks is one go, because you pause with the home menu, unless you're willing to waste time at the beginning of every play session in order to grind out more co-op points in order to regain some of the inventory you lost. And this isn't even an issue that exists because of restrictions I put on myself, but rather with the game itself and the way it's intended to be played. If you have a younger person playing with you as the co-op drone and you guys decide to close the game for the day and come back, I'm sure having all their items removed is pretty disappointing for that child, let alone somebody of any age who's playing co-op with you. Pikmin 4's biggest flaw is by far the lackluster co-op, and I hope in the future we do end up getting real story mode co-op where the second player controls Oatchi, whether that be through a free DLC update or a Pikmin 4 Deluxe on the next Nintendo system. But until that day comes, I guess I'll just have to settle for stoning every living thing I see to death! But on a more serious note, I am extremely grateful for the reception I got on my previous video. This video definitely wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that, so again, thank you so much, and I hope to see you again on the next upload. Also, before I get comments about this, you literally can't re-equip or unequip pup skills. Everyone in the comments kept saying I could re-equip or unequip Swallow. You can't. You can do it for pup gear, you can do it for rescue gear, but you cannot do it for pup skills at all. Like, at this point, I don't know who's more dumb. You guys who commented that, or this purple Pikmin.